everyone. This is Hannah Hanley, and I'm joined by Nate Gana. We've both worked in the alcohol industry for over a decade. Through the years, our partnership has grown, and we now work together on several projects. We're excited to launch Caviar and Chips podcast, meant to educate on what is happening in the alcohol industry, including trends and news. We'll also give regular updates on our own lives. As we get into this, we'll add interviews and more segments. Let's go. All right. Welcome back to episode 2 of Caviar and Chips. It's episode 2, Nate, because something happened with the last one we recorded and it didn't work. Yeah, we're figuring it out. So anyways, how are you? Where are you?
I am great. I am in Boston. I am relaxing in Boston. And relaxing is a nice term because I am doing nothing relevant whatsoever. And I needed that. So it's great.
What do you mean? I mean, you were with...
I was with a buddy of mine last night, but, here's the thing. Coming from the West Coast and like living on the West Coast, and, when you come out to New York, it's a full day event, right? Just the travel alone is 5.5 to 6 hours in the plane, and then another 2 by the time you get your bag and get to the hotel. So get into the airport. You're talking about a 9-hour day plus the 3-hour time change. You're already 12 hours into your travels, and you're starting so early. You're exhausted by the time you get there. You've wasted an entire day. From Nashville and living here now, everything is super central. So I've got Charleston, DC, Boston, Chicago, New York, Connecticut, Miami, Atlanta. They're all within 2 hours of where I am now. And that's a complete game changer. And the first thing I said to myself was, I'm going to travel absolutely everywhere that I possibly can now that I live here. And that's the first thing I've done. So I'm in Boston this week. I'm in Chicago next week for national TV, for National Pickle Day. Let's go. And then I'm going to DC, and then I'm going back to the West Coast. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Kind of great, actually.
You're going to be on News Nation in Chicago next week.
News Nation, Chicago next week, and then over to the West Coast for Thanksgiving, and then back over to New York twice with a stop to the West Coast before, because why wouldn't you stop to the West Coast in between? Actually, to hang out with you. That is going to be great.
We're going to Battle in Seattle. Which is the Gonzaga basketball game at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. So we're going with a bunch of our friends, and that's going to be super fun. Go ahead.
Is that against Kentucky?
You know what? I think it is. I haven't looked it up, but I feel like I saw that at some point. If it's against Kentucky, that's going to be sick. That's going to be awesome.
I'm looking it up right now. Let's see what I can find. I think it's a sick game, that's for sure. So, all right, I'm going to the Gonzaga schedule. Let's see.
It's my first battle in Seattle. I've never been. My sister and her husband are going too. We're meeting up with my brother. Everyone's going to be there. Yeah. Nate's infiltrating our family.
Christian is coming. This is going to be sick.
CA's coming. It's going to be so fun.
Christian's going to walk out. Yes, it is against Kentucky. That is going to be so sick. Cannot wait. That is going to be fun. That box is going to be wasted. I can't even lie. We're going to be completely lit the entire time. Like, I hope you guys got a room, because there's no chance that you're going and driving home after that game. Just throwing that out there.
I think we
drive safe, everybody.
We definitely are. Caitlin and Sean are coming, so Sean's going to drive us home. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
You are going home after?
Yeah.
Wow, that is impressive.
I think I still need to find a babysitter. That's it. I need to write that down.
Need to find a babysitter.
Note to self: find a babysitter.
Find a babysitter immediately. So
all right,
I'm
crazy
going
times.
To New York.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to New York for Bourbon Lore, but the night before Battle in Seattle. So I'm going to Bourbon Lore on the 6th till like 1 a.m, and then my flight to Seattle is at 7 a.m. So I am not excited at all.
Don't miss it. How often do you miss flights? Never. You're not a flight misser.
No, I'm really good. I've probably missed 3 over the last 8 years. Maybe.
That's not bad.
Maybe. And the only reason I'm even missing flights right now is because my schedule is so much better that it allows for me to fly a little more freely. And if I miss a flight, then I'm not too worried about catching the next flight. If it's for something important like TV or a big launch event, I'll arrive the day before, obviously, but I would never arrive to an event the day of to begin with. Just not my nature to do things that way. But yeah, that's kind of how I fly. I like to fly pretty openly, and I'm also the biggest last minute flyer ever because I time everything out perfectly, so I don't have to go to the airport and sit around and do nothing. So like if my check-in is like an hour before, if I'm going international, I'll be there like an hour and 1 minute there, like early. Um, I'm
This
like
is where Nate
I'm
and
like
I
that guy.
really differ. We really differ because my husband is airport dad. And so we have to get to the airport very early. And I get very stressed out. I have to walk by the gate, make sure my gate's there. I always text Nate, I'm like, my gate's there. Don't worry.
Are you really like that? Are you that intense with your flying?
No, no. But I do like to get there early because SeaTac is such a
Really?
hot mess these days, especially like SeaTac is such a disaster that it is you just never know how long it's gonna take. Like, well, last time we were there, the train broke down to the end gates, and it's like, you can't walk to the end gates. So then it's like and they're not
That's
delaying
cool.
the plane because the end gate train is broken. They're so it's just a
I gotta
mess, and
say,
it's
you
like
have the worst airport in the US, I think, hands down. I'm going to be honest. I think the
yeah.
lack of understanding at SeaTac is actually insane. When you came to Tails, I remember that morning, I was like, is this chick going to make it here? Because I don't know. That was
Yeah, it
insane.
was a disaster. I mean, checking in, they were just taking bags, they weren't scanning them, they were tagging them. I don't ever check a bag, so you I it was but we had a bunch of stuff for the event, so we had to, like, check the bags, and then, like, we're just sending it through. The bag didn't arrive in New Orleans until 2 days later, and it was soaking
Oh, that's
wet, and it's like it's just SeaTac is such a hot mess, and until the construction is done, which is, I don't know, 5, 10 years from now, it's gonna continue to be a hot mess. So,
what are they building?
they're doing full expansion of, like, the terminals and the food and
Oh,
beverage. It's just I mean, it's been, like, a 10-year plan of the check-in areas, the baggage claim everything, I think, and it's a disaster. So if you're flying through SeaTac, just know that it sucks.
it is
When you
awful. And
fly
I would
in for
say,
battle when you fly in for
yeah,
battle,
no.
like,
So
make sure you know.
So here's the good thing. I'm flying in for battle, so that doesn't matter because I'm only flying in, but I'm driving to Vancouver after. So
Oh,
I'm totally good. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not having to actually, I might not even drive. This is the coolest part. So my house in Vancouver is beside a water airport, which is like it's
Oh,
not quite a
that's
seaport. It's hard
right.
to explain. Yeah. So you guys have Harbor Air that flies to like basically downtown. And that downtown flight goes like right outside my house in Vancouver. So I really don't think that I'm going to have to go to SeaTac other than landing in SeaTac, which is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, that's good. Landing at SeaTac is fine, but it's like the rest of it is a disaster. And then, yeah, you can take the seaplane or the float plane or whatever it is. It's great. That's gonna be awesome.
Amazing.
Well, should we talk about what's happening in the alcohol world, which is some craziness with election? Of course, we're not going to talk about the election. I don't want to talk about the election. But what is going to be interesting is the tariffs that come into play over the next few years. And that's going to affect the industry in a lot of ways from any imports. So that's Mexico, that's Europe, that's um, I mean, Japan, China, really, that's from my understanding, any importation. How do we think that's going to play out with the tequila world?
So I don't think it's going to affect tequila tremendously. And the reason for that is that tequila is a global drink now. And when I say that, I mean that everybody around the globe is drinking tequila very openly. And so I think that will probably deter the US specifically from putting tariffs on tequila. And I say that because it's beneficial for NAFTA to have no disagreement when it comes to something as valuable and profitable as tequila. And I'm assuming that tequila provides enough of a boost to the US economy that they will not tariff tequila. That's my prediction. Now, having said that, I do think that um, when the tariffs came in 2016, I was like, "Oh my god, this is going to kill Scotch whiskey. What are we doing? How can this happen?" What I didn't anticipate was the rise of bourbon that came from those tariffs. And that changed, honestly, my life for the better because I wasn't heavily involved in bourbon until COVID. And when COVID hit, we couldn't go to Scotland, we couldn't go to Japan, we couldn't go to Taiwan, we couldn't do any of those big trips abroad, but we could still go to Kentucky and to Nashville. And I remember walking around with a mask during COVID in Kentucky and people looking at me like I was batshit crazy. It was awesome. It was almost as if COVID didn't exist in Kentucky and Tennessee. And having said that, all the distilleries were open in a lot of ways, and I got to break through quite well during that time. And I think that had we not done what we did, or had Trump not done, or that administration not done those tariffs on Scotland, I think we probably wouldn't have bourbon where it is today. I'm going to be totally honest with you there. I think it was the best thing that happened for bourbon. Now, I will say that now where bourbon is, which is just pure chaos, I think that too many brands took advantage of the fact that everybody was going towards bourbon, and every single brand made a quote unquote limited edition, which I don't think was useful for anybody at all in the long run. Um, but I think you'll see that the best brands in the world of bourbon will come out and stand out over this next 2025, which is going to be absolute chaos. That's my
It is
rant.
going to be chaos. All right. That's it. That's all we're talking about.
What's your
No,
take on it? I'm
no.
very curious.
I mean, I do think the Scotch world and the Irish imports and things like that are going to be challenged, and especially with the administration changes and the budget changes in the UK as well. There's going to be some situations that come out of that. That being said,
Mhm.
people adjust, and a lot of people don't even notice, right? So the general
Right.
public, the general consumer, changes what they do to adjust their lifestyle based on what they can do. And I think that's
That's
one
a great.
thing that is interesting about the American public is that um, there is an education aspect over the last few years, and then of course social media plays into everything. But I do think that the next few years from importing alcohol, importing anything, is going to be interesting. There's going to be a level out on tequila anyways. We've talked about that. We know that like tequila is bananas as is. There's going to be some consolidation where some of the celebrity brands get purchased or moved under other celebrity houses. It'll and so yeah.
You just touched on a really great point that was I was already about to lead into this, and you already hit it. So we had a conversation this week that was very interesting. That it's almost taboo to be a celebrity alcohol brand now. We're
Mm.
seeing this across the board like crazy, where brands don't want to be associated with celebrities in so many ways because it's just so played out. And oftentimes, the quality of the liquor in a celebrity brand is quite low compared to what else it would be or could be. I would say there's only a few people out there that have a really good quality uh, brand when it comes to a celebrity. But having said that, I think it's extremely taboo now that celebrities are associated with brands. The funny thing is, I think celebrities are getting associated with brands in a background perspective where they're privately invested in brands but don't want to be the face of the brand anymore. And I'm starting to see that more and more because people do catch on that there is money to be made in liquor, but they're not putting their face to that name anymore. And I think that that's been very interesting. So that kind of came up this week where it's been a weird situation where people are like, oh, another celebrity brand, yuck. Everybody and their daughter and their son has a celebrity liquor brand now. So it's kind of played out from that perspective. And I think you're going to see it roll back really quickly in 2025.
Yeah. I mean, there are no less than, I don't know, 300 plus celebrity liquor brands at this point. And I think the ones that are most successful are always the ones where the celebrity is truly a spokesperson and it is truly moving the meter on the sales volume, and that's a distribution partnership, right? That's where the three-tier system really comes into play, and that the Ryan Reynolds, no one can repeat what Ryan Reynolds does for aviation gin. It's gin. It's less than 5% of the market as is. However, the volume of that 5% that is now aviation is becoming pretty high, right? So there's that aspect that I think, and if we talk about aviation, it was a Davos brand and now it's a Diageo brand. It's been through a couple acquisitions in a lot of ways. Well, first it was a House Spirits brand, which was a Portland brand, and then Davos, and then Ryan Reynolds, and then Diageo. So it's like that's not short period of time either. That's a long run of over 15 years of aviation gin growing, building, but keeping the same packaging, keeping the same recipe, and taking the celebrity influence and not changing everything that goes along with that. So that's a different play than, and everyone saw what Casamigos did. Everyone saw $1 billion play out and was like, I want that. I want $1 billion. Everyone wants $1 billion, right? So
You might be reading my mind today because I was literally about to go into Casamigos. I don't
yeah,
think that you're going to see a repeat of $1 billion
never.
sale ever
Yeah,
again. It
never.
just won't
I
happen.
mean, maybe
None of these
in
brands are
10
valuable.
plus years, but yeah, never
Yeah.
again at the volume that they were doing, which was an extremely low volume of 9-liter case equivalents. So, I mean,
Do you know who the
ultimately,
biggest celebrity is?
who?
The biggest celebrity is Tito.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Tito.
the profit. I can't remember the last numbers we talked about on Cheetos was like $500 million a year in profit, and he is still
In
privately
profit.
owned.
Yeah.
He is just,
Still
I mean,
Tito.
crazy, crazy.
Imagine that though.
Never
Like,
changed the packaging, kept the same
you know,
labels. Doesn't matter how many times the distributor said it doesn't look good. Stayed
imagine
consistent.
doing 11 million cases per year. Like, how is
I
that humanly possible?
I can't imagine that volume, and it's funny because I still like, even being in the industry, if I'm gonna order a dirty martini, I'm a Tito's dirty martini girl. So, I'm contributing to that.
100%. And we had this awesome conversation the other day because people were like, "Oh, let me get a Tito's and vodka," and people don't
Yes.
even know.
Tito, no, they
That's
don't
such
know.
a
Tito's
crazy
about
concept to me.
that's like a common Nashville thing. I heard that it's like on
Dude,
Broadway, the Tito's and vodka, because people get kind of lit and then they're like, no, I want a vodka soda, but I want Tito's. I'm confused. So
it
funny.
actually has happened. I've seen it happen, and I think I've almost slipped up myself at one point in time, just being like, "Wow, that is the best marketing in the world." When you have taken out the word vodka and
Yeah,
just replaced it with Tito's, that's incredible.
that's true. Yeah. It's synonymous. That's a hard word for me. Synonymous with vodka, which is yeah. Um, the other thing I want to talk about is box wine because box wine is growing like bananas, and we. I know Nate is involved with a brand called Grazie, and I'm a huge Grazie fan. It's through Noah, which
Yeah,
is
you
yeah. Maybe talk. Can you talk about like what Noah does, what that company does, and then I want to talk
are.
about Grazie because it's huge, and I have
Sweet.
3 minutes.
Noah is the founder of Top Shelf Ventures, which is a liquor incubator. So there used to be, tech incubators were the hot thing. Liquor incubators are kind of the new thing. And Noah is the co-founder of Top Shelf with another guy, Jason, and they're awesome guys. I am invested in Top Shelf, and I'm on the board with them. And one thing that I find really interesting is that we pick out brands that have a lot of potential in our eyes to kind of change the market and make the market. And one of those brands is Grazie Boxed Wine. It is a premium boxed wine subscription model, and we are killing it with that. And I think it's fantastic. So I'm really curious to see how you became a fan.
So my friend Kristen, who I grew up with, um, she said that she got targeted by an ad and became a subscription fan of Grazie. So she gets her box of white, box of red, like every month or every 2 months or something. And so we're at her house and we're drinking this box wine, um, and I was like, "Wait, this is actually really good wine." Like, I really like the flavor. It's really easy to drink, especially the white in the summer is really light. It's like not too crisp, but has a nice like flavor to it, and not sweet at all. And it's just delicious. And so then I'm like, several months later, am serving it all the time at our house, like pour it in a little carafe, like put it out. And I text Nate and I'm like, "Have you heard of this brand, Gratz?" And he's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm an investor." And I was like, "No, no way." So then Noah and I met, and anyways, I just think the volume and what Grazia is doing, it is a a product that is produced using Washington grapes. However, it's, not a lot of information out there on like what winery it is or anything like that. And I know that's part of kind of what they keep a little bit under wraps from my understanding. But what they do from a marketing standpoint is really interesting. And so they do a lot of, targeted ads, they do a lot of social content, but the emails are what have kind of kept me engaged because they include recipes. They have like Nona's favorite bruschetta. Like they have all these different recipes in the emails. And it's very Italian, like giving you the Italian vibe, especially in the summer. So, anyways, it's a cool brand. Definitely check it out, Grazie. It's
Didn't realize
Gratsi. Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. I had
Yeah.
no idea that they were doing that. I think that's great. I think that's as good as you can get from a marketing perspective with
Yeah.
keeping people engaged,
Yeah.
and not selling them
100%.
on something. Very
I gotta
cool.
hop, but nice chatting with you.
Awesome.
Let's catch up again
Great
soon.
chatting with you. Done. Love you.
Thank you so much for joining us for the second episode of Caviar and Chips. We are just getting into this and definitely learning as we go, but we're excited to have you all. And please like, subscribe, follow us. We are on Instagram at Caviar and Chips, and then Nate is at Nate Gana. I'm at Drinks with Hannah, and we look forward to talking again soon. Bye.